Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be breaking down 9 classes TA. At the end of the video, I'm going to say whether or not I think you guys should be playing TA in your pubs, but let's talk about why this can work. What is possibly good about it, and is it just a flex pick? Because at the end of the day, Paravision first picked this TA, right? The main point you would imagine is so that they could pick a very nasty carry on pick 23. In this game, they get to pick one of the most dominant carries late into the draft, Morphling, because the enemy team saw that there was a TA, Kunkka, and an Enigma in the draft. They thought, 3 cores are picked, we must ban supports. All of a sudden, they're last picking Morphling and a Brewmaster. This is one of Brewmaster's worst matchups. As a result, Paravision has a major draft advantage, but TA is just a good support. She has a lot of good qualities, and let's talk about what are those good qualities. On top of that, go sign up to the gameleap website, guys. I'm posting new content over there almost every day, and I'll see you there. So the first thing that you can do is get First Blood on runes. This is something that even core TAs do. So yeah, you can meld, and then basically if meld comes off cooldown, you can hit them twice with meld, reducing armor by 10 instead of 5, and that's going to guarantee you a kill on the majority of the cast as long as you have some sort of follow-up. And so as you can see here, he goes on the Tinker, 2 hits, a couple more autos, and with boots he's able to chase him down. Alright, now let's talk about the Facet. This is probably the most important part of this support TA. So let's break it down. Basically, when in meld, Templar increases her attack range by up to an additional 400 range over 1 second. The main point of this is to trade in the laning stage, right? Basically, you get 1 meld hit for free, right? Because TA's attack range is 250, so it puts it up to 650 with the meld hit. And then your next auto will also be, 650 because it's not just 1 attack, it's basically 2 attacks. So it's good for trading. The main point is you get 5 armor reduction and then an extra hit. It's nice. I will admit, I think support TA is completely viable with something like Refractor. I think it's very reasonable to take your Q, the Refractor Facet, and just play based on the fact that, well, it's just a very, very good trading spell. Like, using TA as a hero that can just trade is not bad. To me, it's fully reasonable. However, this is kind of the more cheeky thing. Now, the funny thing is I actually saw someone do this a long time ago. It was Wagamama, like, months ago. He played TA4 in my pub with this exact same concept. We lost, and so I kind of wrote it off mentally as maybe some sort of a meme build, but we're back at it. So you'll see here that you can kind of just generally look to trade with people. He's trying to give this Enigma an early level 2 here. Clearly, Paravision's concept is that, they want to pair this meld with some sort of a disable. And so as Enigma hits a very early level 2 because he didn't step a lot of XP, they can potentially look to trade. You can basically spam meld off cooldown. The only problem is you're going to give quite a lot of stick charges if you do that. It's not like you trade insanely well. I'm not here to convince you guys that TA pause forward just destroys the lane. It doesn't do that. It's not some broken laner. He does hit the Tinker here. It's a little bit of cheeky damage. And eventually, when the Enigma is ready to go for a kill attempt, they can do so. But until then, he's really just playing off the fact that he has boots. You're a decently fast hero, right? You're a 305 movement speed hero, stacking the large camp into the water room and kind of just securing Paravision's mid lane as he actually looks to go mid. I don't know if this is a miscommunication. To me, this is kind of a grief. I feel like the best play that Paravision could have done here is no one should have gotten the bottom power room. 9 class should take the top water room, and they should have played off of that. Another cute little thing you can do is use meld on the Lotus pool. Basically, it's impossible to contest unless they want to expend a sentry, and if the enemy pause 5 puts down a sentry on the Lotus pool, just take it as a win, right? They've used their gold, they've used their sentry to contest you. It's generally going to be a good idea, or even just a good trade as you can get off a double meld. Okay, let's finally get to the juicy moment where he goes for a kill. You can meld in the trees like this, and it's pretty funny because of the fact that you have this bonus 400 range. You can kind of just afford to click meld on the ground, and all of a sudden you're able to get a very reliable double meld hit at some point. Now I believe they had a sentry in the lane, but yeah, he sets up the meld hit onto the Tinker. Tinker extends into him, and they quickly realize, oh, this might be a kill, right? The double meld is nearly up. They get the second hit, and yeah, it's a kill. So very, very nice. Level 2, you just deal a lot of damage. You're actually very, very tanky, and so you kind of act as this weird melee hero, semi-melee hero for something like an Enigma, just because you can afford to run in. Like, you are just tanky with Refraction. So kind of as we've seen before, he goes for a potential stack, unfortunately isn't able to get the stack, but decides to just take the water rune, and this is clearly, their big concept of how to grief the mid lane. Right, just how to kind of get an advantage there. And this is sort of a draft thing. You can just constantly lane. especially if the mid lane isn't really much of a water rune. If it's 2 heroes that don't need water runes, like if the enemy mid is an invoker, it's going to be way less impactful. But against heroes like Ember and Storm and Pango, doing what 9 class does here is really nice for the game, right? It makes a big, big difference on the mid lane. And he has an Enigma, right? It's kind of like one of those things where you just have to know your offlaner as well. If you're laning with something like Brewmaster that might need quite a bit more help and wants to fight a lot, you probably shouldn't leave the guy, right? If you're laning with something like Tidehunter or, you know, Enigma that can be self-sustaining, you have the option to go mid and contest water runes like this. Now, in terms of items, he picked up a stick in the early game, just because this hero actually does use quite a bit of mana. After that, he just bought treads, straight up treads. Cues up a Quelling Blade. This is just for Sprout on the Nature's Prophet. Otherwise, you're just going to be buying things like Blood Grenades, whatever's needed for the game, Sentries, Wards. Mainly Blood Grenades, though. It's actually really important to spam them on a hero like TA where you lack a bit of control, and so to make up for that, you should be throwing a lot of them. Just kind of, yeah, as we see, he buys one here. Sets up on the top tower. They're making pressure to try to secure this with the Enigma, as they will stack the large camp. This is really, really important as they... Oh, he actually didn't do it. I don't know why. I thought they would do it, and the main reason why is then you take the tower and you start pulling this large camp. And when you do that, it basically makes it where the enemy can't farm lane creeps for a long period of time. But they continue to pressure top. This sequence is really funny. This is obviously something that situationally will just happen on support TA, as they give him some boat rum. He's running away, clicks Mel because he's like, I'm dead. Clicks Mel, they just don't have detection. Right? Just very comically don't have detection. Even in pro games, this happens. And so he wastes a lot of time, and I mean a lot of time, cheekily hitting a meld on the mid-game, just waiting out their detection, or waiting out the courier that should likely come with detection, and eventually just decides, okay, I think the NP shows, yeah, NP shows, and he's like, oh, I have Refraction at 10 stick? Tinker's the only hero here? Like, I can kind of walk this off now. Funny enough, the Tusk was also camping him, and now he's giving so much info. Tinker's here, Tusk is here. He makes the Tusk use Snowball, clicks Melt again, and comically, they don't have detection. They just don't. It's expensive, you know, having to play sentries. Oh my god. Oh my god. Having to buy Dust and sentries for support kills that just don't give that much is not fun at all. And then he gets the deny, and my god, that is some insane value. And I'm not just saying that. That is some insane value sequence right there. And kind of on the same note, he definitely views himself as a frontliner, which I think is nice. I think a lot of the time, if you play a ranged hero, you're inclined to believe you can't really run in like this. He had a haste in this clip, but again, I love what he does, right? 9 class is just kind of one of those players that just has a good feel for the game, and he understands just economic side of Dota very, very well. And stuff like this seems goofy, right? Where he gets a kill with a haste, they dive the Tinker, they, you know, stop the defense of the tier 1, and then he starts running up the river. And a lot of players would view this and be like, you know, he's just trying to live. But I actually think plays like this are very underrated. And I mean that. I think intentionally baiting the enemy team to chase you with difficult to kill heroes, and TA can sort of be that. Obviously, it's kind of matchup dependent, situation dependent, but he gets 3 heroes to chase him. This is an offlane Brew, a mid Pango, NP committing teleport, which is a big deal, as now he is very far from lane creeps and can't join any fights. I mean, these types of moves are massive. I mean, look what happens, right? The Enigma can comfortably farm. Morphling is pushing up to a tier 2, putting pressure on a Tinker, and he feels comfortable to do this, partially because he sees what's happening, right? Okay, maybe a little bit deep. But you get the point. Actually, he's probably fine, right? And again, I don't know, these moves are just like, from Power Vision, I honestly think even this, is he even gonna die? I actually need to see this. Is he gonna die? He has a wand. Oh, no, okay, he died. But like, even this, again, like you get these kills, that one is obviously a lot worse than TA, because the TA is a sup, it's like 300 gold, the Morphling gave like 800, but you get the point as, oh, they actually maybe find some kills, and they just have so much information, so they feel very comfortable going for this kill, because they obviously know where the enemy team is, they kind of know what they're doing, they see the Tinker bottom, they see the Tusk, wow, what a torrent. On to both heroes, that was sick. Putting some pressure, and he queues up a Dragonlance. He should be continuing to buy Blood Grenades, I expect him definitely to do that. Is he going to farm the stack? No, okay, Kunkka's going to take it. For a second, I was like, oh, maybe you can take stacks. I mean, you are TA. And the reality is you probably can if you take the other skill build, if you go like Refractor or if you go the Meld one. But the Meld one is definitely, the other one is definitely terrible on TA. It's either, you're either going to take Hidden Reach or Refractor. Hidden Reach obviously being the cooler of the two is. You can jungle. I mean, you can definitely jungle. Nice thing about heroes that are typically core being played sup is that in periods of downtime, for instance, you know, his team is making a play here, you can very quickly kill waves because you just have Psyblades. As he works up the hill, looks like Paravision going for a 14-minute Wisdom Rune contest. In terms of the fights, you're just generally going to meld the person your team is going on. Wow, that was... Meld is a lot of damage. It's okay, kind of running in pretty aggressive here as a bit of a waste of the meld, you know. That was during the laser, so not my favorite execution there. Probably should get another meld hit off before he dies. Okay, that was a little sus. I think maybe just not the best decision making there. Overextending a little bit. However, maybe it's a teamfight win. Wow, they still had AA Blast. So, again, kind of creating space. Another funny thing about TA support is you're actually really good at taking Tormentor. It's just one of the only supports in the game that can actually tank it to some extent because of refraction. And meld, right, armor reduction is the best way to kill Tormentor. It's actually so funny how Dota works like this. Just like, yeah, TA core is like fantastic at taking Torm. And so it's really not much of a shock. It's weird, but it's not much of a shock that TA support also with double meld, with right an AA and a Morphling can take the Torm. Right? Typically you need 4 heroes. If it's 2 sups and a core, you need another core to come over to take the Torm. But with TA sup, you don't need the numbers, and it becomes a much more efficient play as he helps out with a Morphling kill. They can kind of work on the stack. Clearly he's not too interested in farming. Only 24 CS, primarily some lane creeps. Right, which is just his way to recover. And the main thing I haven't even talked about at this up until this point is traps. Right, traps are a broken spell. They're a broken spell on support TA. They're probably your best spell. We'll get into that, especially when he gets to shard as teamfight breaks out here. Popping the preemptive meld maybe can. Oh, the Pango bump actually does knock you out of meld. So a bit of an unfortunate matchup. Is wow. I think he should have hit the Pango there. Probably a bit of a misplay. I think he actually could kill the Pango in one hit there. It would have been close. Oh, he tried for it. Okay. Unfortunately, he only got to hit 1 of 3 melds. But as you can see, this hero, he hit 1 of 3 melds. I'm not going to say he carried that fight. He honestly didn't do that much. But you can see, if you're getting your meld hits off, which isn't hard with Dragonlance, right, you're going to be dealing just a lot of damage. And it's a lot of utility. A constant 8 armor reduction, only a 5-second cooldown. And it's very easy to play these long fights because you're going to have an effective 1800 HP, I would say, with 1 or 2 refractions, which is just a very buffed spell. You can see in the patch notes. Just one of the most buffed spells of recent time. And so yeah, for his items, as I was mentioning, it was Stick into Treads. He did pick up an Orb of Venom, which I find to be a bit weird. I mean, it's not that this item is bad. It's basically like, it's just some damage. I have seen almost no one buy it. I guess it seems okay. I can't really say I'm a fan. I mean, it's some early game damage. I'm sure his concept is just like finding the breakpoints on kills, just like that little bit of tick damage. But okay, in terms of talents, he took the meld debuff duration. Not too surprising with this Facet, right? You're just getting, how long does it typically last? So it typically lasts 6 seconds. Now it's 8.5 seconds of armor reduction. So just so much armor reduction. As bit of downtime. Now let's talk about traps. This is why this hero is just broken. There's 2 reasons. Number 1, traps are just insane. When you buy your shard, it's unbelievable. I want to quickly read it. He's about to buy it as his next item. It would make his max trap count go from a current 5 to 9. It's almost a doubling of the amount of traps you have for 1400 gold. It makes the traps silence for a very significant 3 seconds. If the trap has been on the ground for, I believe it's 2 seconds, then it's a 3-second silence. And it gives bonus vision, so the traps just see more. Like, now you're just you're already a vision hero. You're a crazy vision hero. You have 9 of these things that just show what the enemy team is doing. You can put them on creep camps, on hills, down lanes. You can cut creep waves if you want to. You can do anything. You can just tell your team what is happening on the map. Constant. I mean, it's only 15 mana, and it's an 11-second cooldown. You can put them literally everywhere. And that is what he's going to do as he snipes a courier. Can slowly but surely take out an ancient camp. Pretty cool, right? You can actually just farm ancient camps 19 minutes into the game as a support. He's making some moves. Scouts out the Pango. He actually, he should have finished off that courier. He should have finished off that courier. As he's going to farm up the wave. Again, just convenient that your hero just does this. Slots back in the Orb of Venom. I can't imagine it's really that valuable. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, but the numbers just don't add up to me. But yeah, puts down the trap. Gonna set up for the slow onto the Tusk, right? Now you have a bit of control. big melt hit. You can see it just does a lot of damage. Melt comes back up. He's got his refraction going. Melted onto the tanker. 8 armor reduction for 8 seconds, 8.5 seconds. And they get another kill. As now his shard comes in, queues up a clarity. He's got his lotus if he needs a little bit of mana. And at this point, he should just put traps everywhere. You should put one here to see if the enemy team is going to leave the base, right, to farm this camp. You should put one here just to kind of see if they're lingering in their base. You should put one mid, right, and just force the enemy team to place sentries everywhere. And if they don't place sentries to kill off your traps, you're just going to see them, right? The enemy team is put in this really weird spot where they either have to A, buy a gem, which pros do against TA. However, when you're 11k down, you don't want to buy a gem. You're probably going to lose it, right? He's sieging high ground. I don't know. This looks a bit weird. I'm not going to lie. This looks a bit weird as he actually gets punched. Okay, maybe... no. A 4-staff from the Enigma gets him out. And he's got 7 traps on the ground now, so let's see where they are. This one's nice. Kind of just tells you if they're jungling. This one, he should probably just get a new one. This one's okay. This one's all right. I would like to see him have more lane traps. Maybe just kind of one here, one here. Obviously, this is good. And you can put them anywhere and you're going to get value. To me, the lane ones are just nice. Right, just any kind of outside of the base right here is just going to give a lot of info as he's actually just jungling. So playing to scale. I would say your main job as he goes down. Okay, not the end of the world. Just a sup. Just a little sup kill. I would say your main job is to place good traps, really. It sounds kind of crazy. It's like, surely I should just try to scale. I don't really think you should try to scale. I think people will kind of misunderstand the point of this TA. It's just a solid laner, a vision hero, pretty good early game fighter. I would actually say a very good early game fighter. For instance, on rune fights, you're extremely strong, right? On the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 minute power runes or water runes, right? You're just powerful. As he queues up Hurricane Pike. So you can see you're not buying something like a Deso. It's too cheesy. You don't want to die in fights. Your main value is going to be providing armor reduction and vision, right? And occasionally a slow and maybe a silence. You know, as he is farming up some back camps as they go for a bit of smoke. By the way, another thing, if you want to min-max a hero, you should be popping, if you have mana, which is why you kind of, I would say it's nice to buy things like Pike and Clarities, so you have a mana pool, so you can click your Q before the fight starts. You don't want to click it when the fight starts. It's a 17-second duration, 14-second cooldown, so you want to be overlapping the ability, right? That's how you get the main value, as he actually does react to a go from the Tusk here, just insanely tanky. Chilling from a tag team punch and a Brewmaster go, just eating it up. This hero is unbelievably survivable. And this game is completely over. I mean, they don't really have damage. Okay, dying to Maelstrom and Mjolnir. Unfortunately, Mjolnir is a broken item, so he dies. But, yeah, TA support. I mean, he actually skipped... I find this to be a little crazy, I'm not going to lie. He skipped traps for a second point in Psyblades, which, you know, gives you 50 more attack range. That's really the main thing that it gives you. The other numbers are kind of bad. I would take traps. I feel that it is worth it to have the max traps. And honestly, the cooldown, just being able to place these things in fights for extra bit of slow, extra bit of silence, damage. I do disagree with taking a point in E over taking, you know, this very strong ability. I do think it's very easy to put down 12 traps, and it is useful. So yeah, can't get behind that decision. And so up the high ground they go when your team is sieging high ground. I mean, look at this trap. Like, look at this info. Just so much info. It's just like, hey guys, they're all TPing. Oh, they're trying to sneak up on our Morphling. Nope, we know what's happening. Easy disengage. Another trap on this hill. Oh, we saw the Brewmaster. Pike to get out. Tumbler's to way to disengage as well. Just, I mean, an insane Grief of Vision. Actually baiting here. Pike to get out. I mean, he is just styling on them. Another trap on the hill, just to kind of scout out, you know, maybe a Tinker coming across, maybe a Tusk on the hill. As he's just kiting the heck out of them. The Brew trying to poke him with the Radiance, but Brewmaster just does not deal very much damage at this point. As Black Hole onto the Nature's Prophet, and yeah, I mean, he just kites the heck out of them. Another trap on the hill. This is why, okay, yeah, he skilled up the trap. I don't know why maybe it might have just been a misclick. I don't know. Because, like, he did take it eventually. It was probably a misclick. But yeah, I mean, here's my final verdict, guys. What I'll say about TA support is that it is definitely just good. Like, it's one of those things that people are going to hate on because it looks like a joke. It's something you haven't seen before, but it just does support things. Like, it just does things you would want a support to do. It's a pretty good laner. It gives vision. It's pretty good at fighting in the early game. The main thing that it doesn't do is provide control in the early game. When it has traps, it provides a little bit of control. That is the main flaw. In this game, it was supplemented by obviously something like a Kunkka, a little bit from something like an Enigma. Not the best, they lack a bit of control this game for sure, but it was a bit of a gambit pick. In pubs, you're going to get less value out of the TA. You're not going to have that flex option that's going to make it nearly as powerful as it could be in Captain's mode. However, let's get to the final verdict. If you are below, I would say around 6 to 7k MMR, I probably wouldn't suggest TA support. I think it's a little bit too technical, it's a little difficult, and you're not going to scale into the late game. The reality is that this hero is best, generally, I would say, from minute 0 to 35. Yes, in the hyper late game, you're still going to be a vision hero, but your armor reduction is going to fall off, your damage is going to heavily fall off, it's not going to scale well, right? You might be like, but I'm TA, I can farm, of course I can scale well. TA as a carry already doesn't scale the best. It's not a hyper scaling carry, it's a mid-game carry. It's why it's always been more popular in the pro scene than in pubs. So if you are low MMR, below that 6, 7k threshold, I would say play it for fun, maybe in unranked, probably not the best in ranked. If you're above that, it's going to be a little bit better. You're going to, understand how to min-max the stacks, runes, you just even positioning, trap usage. You got to be very on top of it, right? Super aware of your cooldown, just on your ult. I'm not kidding. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. And I'm out. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, before you tune out, subscribe to the gameleap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.